Okay, so welcome to our masterclass. This week we're talking about how to effectively create and manage a professional personal brand online, because it's not just about putting yourself out there, it's putting yourself out there and making sure you get some career brownie points with it. And to do this is Laura, who I'll be introducing in a moment. So we are now live on Facebook. You are able to add the subtitles on, should you wish to, and I will in a moment also add a link to Otter as well, so that you can read the transcript. You can share all of your experience with us today on Twitter with the hashtag PressPadRemote. And we also accept questions, many of them welcome, in the little box that you can see at the bottom of your screen. And without further ado, Laura, welcome, Laura.
Hi.
So Laura is not a stranger to us at PressPad because she is our community manager. We met her through an application that she'd made for a different role, and she wowed us, and we decided to bring her on board. Laura is like anything she does actually is not very visible, is that she's still a student somehow and manages to also be the director of her Business Girls Inc. It's a community-based company to help young women to kick ass in the business world effectively. Yeah. And she's spoken about her business to different media outlets, and also at uni conference. So today we are asking Laura to talk to you about how to create and manage your personal brand effectively. Laura is going to give you some very practical tips, but also explain her journey, take you through what she's learned along the way, and hopefully that will spark some questions and give you some ideas and some very clear action points on how to start for yourself. Here we go. Over to you, Laura.
So hi everyone, my name's Laura. Like Cami said, I am the community manager at PressPad, and I'm also the founder of Business Girls, which I started in December of 2020. So that's really exciting. So today I'm just going to be talking through my journey and how I've utilized my personal brand to get me where I am today. And so yeah, my journey so far, what will you need for a personal brand? I'm just going to minimize that. How to develop a personal brand, how to stand out after COVID, and 3 tips you can action straight after this masterclass. Whenever I do events or talks, I always like to give actionable advice that you can take away afterwards, because I feel like if you listen to a talk and don't have any actionable tips to go with it, then that knowledge that you've learned and listened to kind of just gets put on the shelf. So my journey, so from December 2017 to 2020, I was an undergrad, so I studied drama and English at my undergrad, and then COVID hit in March 2020, which was quite scary because the arts is already a competitive industry, and then COVID came along and shut everything down. So in April of 2020, I was trying to establish a little bit of a routine through the lockdown, probably everyone was. And I started a kind of passion project blog, which was called Latest with Laura. It's still running now. I think it's just over a year old, but that was really enjoyable. And it kind of helped me discover my love for marketing, which I'd never really considered before, even though I'd done marketing pretty much throughout university as an artist. So in July of 2020, I decided to do a master's in digital marketing. I wanted to get more theory behind the experience that I'd had at university with marketing. And then in December, I wanted to create a space basically for other women in business to help them get into business. And it's just snowballed, partly because I've been putting myself out there on my personal brand, and also just partly because everyone in the marketing business community is just really supportive. So in January 2021, I hopped on LinkedIn. I'm going to say a bit more about that in a minute because that is key to my personal branding journey. And then in March 2021, I took my personal project, Business Girls, to a limited company. So even though I run a business, my personal brand was always showing up. I was always the face of like Business Girls. People knew me through Business Girls as like the girl behind it. So my personal brand really did help with my business as well. And here we are. So what is a personal brand? I won't sing the song lyric, but it's all about you. Bonus point for anyone who gets that band reference in the chat. So it's all about your challenges, your successes, characteristics, your goals, your failures, your mistakes, what you've learned, all comes together and makes your personal brand. So it's something completely individual to you and something that you can take forward that no one else has. And why do you need one? Honestly, to just set yourself apart. I think we've seen this year in terms of the competitiveness of the job market. We've seen how competitive getting a job is and how competitive being able to stand out is. And I think that having a personal brand doesn't it really require you to do too much else because you've already got all the experiences and past learnings that you can voice into your personal brand. And building a personal brand really is just entirely your own journey. So it's up to you to decide what your why is. It's up to you to decide why you're using your personal brand. Do you want to get your dream job? Do you want to be able to just connect with other people in your industry? Or do you just want to fill a gap in the CV and say, hey, this is what I've been doing to stand out? It's completely up to you. So how to build a good personal brand that's professional and that will set you up really well for the future and what you want to do. So these are my top tips for personal branding. You have things to offer that your other competitors don't have or yet have. This is something that has been really important to me in my personal branding journey because quite a lot of my skills and my tips and my advice, I always thought was quite basic. I was just like, oh, I'm sure everyone else has this. I'm sure other people have these skills. But no matter how much you know, there's always someone that knows a little bit less and you can help them by sharing your own advice. And that's part of the personal brand for me is all about helping people. That's kind of my why. And that's almost like my superpower in inverted commas. Finding what you want to make your personal brand about, and if it's whether it's helping people, whether it's giving advice, whether it's really you're really knowledgeable on a certain subject, that's going to shine through your personal brand. Trust within yourself, because sometimes posts won't perform as well. Sometimes you'll have like writer's block, and that's the thing. Sometimes you just have to almost take a step back, but remember the consistency is key, because that can sound quite counterintuitive, but you don't have to post every day to have a strong personal brand. You can post once a week, you can post twice a week, whatever's consistent for you in your current schedule is really important. And it's really important to remember that. Resilience is really key because, like I said, it's like not an overnight journey. You might think that some people are going to think, oh, why is she putting herself out here and saying all of these quotes on LinkedIn, and why is she making all of these posts? And I think that resilience and having trust within yourself is really important. And personal branding, in essence, is about storytelling. And you've got your own story, which no one else has. So share your wins, but share your losses as well. Share what you've learned. Share what challenges you've had. I'll speak a little bit more about what you can talk about with your brand in a minute. You don't have to be on every channel, like I said. Consistency doesn't mean that you have to be on so many different social channels. I'm not on Twitter, which for some, I think, journalists, if there's any journalists listening, that they would be like, what? But for me, my audience is more on Instagram and LinkedIn. So being not on every channel is really key. Don't compare yourself, because I think for me, I have a certain mission with my personal brand and other people will have different missions, and it's not necessarily comparing yourself to other people, it's that you're automatically pitting yourself against their mission, which isn't yours. So that comparison isn't going to match up. And I was having a great chat with someone that I really, really admire in like social media and marketing industry. And it's kind of funny because sometimes you really look up to people and you think they're doing great, and that's amazing. But then those people are also looking up to people and you're kind of on the same playing field. So the comparison isn't really valid there because you've all got different missions. And focusing on your why, just focusing why you want to do your personal branding. I think it's really important to have that mission so you don't get deterred by things that look like shiny objects, but they look really cool. So for me, I am very much focused on helping women in business and working on my business and helping the clients that I work with make their social media as good as it can be. But then I've also seen some incredible social media agencies that are out there, and I'm like, oh, am I missing out by not applying to work with them? But it's not part of my mission and it's not part of what I want to do. So I think it's really important to have the ability to say no and stay true to your personal brand. So, what do I talk about with my personal brand? It's a question that I hear a lot. And it's completely up to you because your personal brand is yours. So you can talk about your story. You can talk about everything that you've been on. If you applied for a job and you got through to the interview stage and you didn't quite get the job, speak about your experience. Speak about maybe what you learned, what feedback you got back. It's completely up to you. Challenges you've overcome this week. I posted my first Twitter thread for PressPad, which I've never done for a client before. Like I said, I don't have Twitter. So that was a big thing for me. I obviously am doing this masterclass, which I'll probably post about tomorrow on LinkedIn and say, this is what happened, this is what I learned. You're always learning new things. Talks, podcasts, shows, events you've attended, listened to, they're great to bring up. It's part of your personal brand. It's all about finding out what you've learned and what things that you've taken away from it. So one of my favorite podcasts was a podcast, the Boss Babe podcast by Danielle Canty. And the title is literally How I Lost $1 Million and How I'm Building It Back. And it's such a good one to listen to. I highly, highly recommend it. But I could create a LinkedIn post and be like, this is what I've learned from this, like resilience, having the power to like switch in your life, all those sorts of things. Conversations you've had about your industry, your failures, nothing you fail at is ever a wasted lesson. In fact, I think it teaches you so much more than being successful actually does. So I quite like failing sometimes and making mistakes. A timeline, so you could be like 3 years ago I went to uni, here's what I learned, or 1 year ago I started at this job and this is what I've learned over the year of being there. It's really good. If you're a little bit more shy about building your personal brand, using interactive stories like polls and questions can really be valuable because a lot of users on LinkedIn, for example, will probably be more inclined to click on a poll than write a big comment. So that's going to get your engagement up and get you noticed. Advice for other people that were in your shoes. I get quite a lot of comments that are like, how did you start your business? What did you do to start it? And sometimes I'm just like, just starting's key. But giving advice for people that are a few steps behind you is always going to be key because you're always going to have a little bit more experience and certain skills that other people don't have. And sometimes it doesn't even need to be that you need to create your own content. Sometimes you can just post and comment and engage on other people's posts. So it doesn't have to be this big scary thing of creating a personal brand that's perfect. Sometimes you can just interact with your community and that will really help build your presence and your personal brand professionally. Also, make sure that your LinkedIn is updated to show yourself off in the best light. It will probably give you an ego boost, seeing how much on your LinkedIn you've actually achieved in your life. And it will help put you in the best light. Also, have fun with your bio. I think a lot of people on LinkedIn think their bio just needs to be searching for a job in this industry and where you graduated from, or what experience in previous work you've had. Have fun with it. Make them want to click read more because that's going to really stand you out, especially to employers. So what do you need to build a personal brand? This is like my toolkit. So first, your reason right at the top. Why are you building a personal brand? And then feeding off that, you've got your strengths, your skill sets, which are things that are, again, individual to you and that you can talk about and you can share advice on. Consistency, whether that's 3 times a week, whether that's 1 time a week. I think if you post on 1 time a week on LinkedIn, I saw the stat, I originally thought it was 2%. And I think if you post once a week on LinkedIn, you will be in the 0.4% of people that are that active on the platform. Can you imagine how much growth that would be? And the willingness to put yourself out there and be in that 0.4% is going to increase your opportunities by tenfold, I promise you. Proactivity, once you're starting to network and get those connections, I got approached to talk for Bournemouth University's Marketing Society through LinkedIn. And if I didn't have that presence, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. Sometimes it's really about being proactive, especially when it's so competitive, and just creating your own experience. What are people going to say? Collaboration is key. I'm very much collaboration over competition with my company. Yeah, we're a business, but we're also here to help people. And that is my why. Creativity, grab people's attention. People have a really short attention span right now, and it's kind of decreasing over the last 10 years, I believe, due to social media. And be creative to catch people's attention. Don't do the norm. Be exciting and have patience, because building a personal brand takes a while. I've been building my personal brand probably for about 4 years through university. And it's just now that I'm starting to get the rewards from that fully. And a lot of people are like, how have you done it? And I'm like, it's just graft. And branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room. It's so key. How you present yourself professionally, what you bring across, your proactivity, your ability to put yourself out there, and your ambition is going to stand you out so much in today's society and in today's job market as well. So how do you get over these common fears with personal branding? Because it can be really scary. And how to stand out post-COVID with a lot of people going out more and a lot of people on their phones less. So I often get questions like, I'm worried about lots of people seeing my posts and feeling like, oh, is it good enough to post? I'm worried that I won't have anything profound to say on a Tuesday morning after I've just had my breakfast. I'm worried that I'll fall at the first hurdle. What if I mess something up and say something wrong and someone comments something that's a criticism? What do I do? No opportunities can arise from posting. There's a bigger chance of reaching people. Like I just said, you're in the 0.4% on LinkedIn if you post once a week. And I've had posts that have reached about 5,000 by just posting a post about what to post on LinkedIn. Did so well. And you don't get that reach on any other social platforms. I think LinkedIn is one of the social platforms that gives you the most reach and isn't really affected by paid advertising just yet. So you have a real chance to reach an organic growth of people for free. It's something to show employers, show them that you've been proactive, show them that you've started a side hustle, or you've started this blog, or you're doing something with your personal brand. It really improves your interpersonal skills. It really helps you create confidence in yourself to be able to put yourself forward for new opportunities. Because I had to do an Instagram live yesterday and I was really nervous, but now I can go into these Instagram lives and talks and do them without as many nerves. It helps inspire others to do the same. It uncovers areas of interest for you. I don't know, I think if you told me I was doing Business Girls and all this work last year, I would have liked to believe you, but I wouldn't have known how to have got there. It gets you out of your comfort zone. It really does. Starting anything new is always so scary, but it teaches you a wealth of knowledge and it opens new doors. So I think if you're worried about anything, you don't have anything profound to say, or you mess something up, or you're worried that lots of people will see your posts, or you're worried that something will go viral and you weren't expecting it to, and now you're worried about what people think. A lot of other people aren't doing that, so you're already putting yourself at an advantage. Okay, so how do you set yourself out apart from the crowd? So create your own experience, whether it doesn't have to be a business, it can be a blog, it could be you're featured on someone's podcast, it could be like a little Instagram page you have as a passion product. It can be anything as long as you're creating your own experience. And I think that's so accessible nowadays. Because if you think about the days 10, 15 years ago without social media, it was a lot more difficult to create something that was yours. And nowadays we have a real avenue to be able to create your own experience. Be honest. I love sharing when things go wrong, when things go right, and my journey. Do things 99% don't do, but don't be afraid to not follow the general path. So for example, if you're a stationery brand and your audience is not on Twitter, but it's on Instagram, feel free to go live. I don't know many other companies that would go live. Feel free to do collaborations that catch the attention. I think we all remember Heinz and Weetabix. That really caught public's attention. Do things like that. But then if a lot of other stationery brands or customers are on Twitter, but you're also on Instagram, don't follow what everyone else is doing. Stand out and do things that the general 99% won't do, but still stand out and take you on your own path and fit with your mission. Look for hot topics if you want to do your personal brand. I think it's, especially if you're going into something like journalism or marketing or business or entrepreneurship, you want to be ahead of the curve. I think things like Answer the Public are really good to see what trends are like. That's a great website. Or just checking Twitter is always good to see what breaking news is and what is trending. And think outside the box. How can you set yourself apart? My favorite example of this is that Stephen Bartlett didn't have a Wikipedia page, and a completely unknown guy called Nathan curated him a Wikipedia page, and he got a internship in 10 minutes. It was crazy. The things that you can do if you just find a gap or think outside the box and solve a problem can be huge. How do you stay consistent? I took about a 2-week hiatus from LinkedIn about last week and the week before, and I've come back this week. So I think sometimes if you're not feeling like you've got a lot of ideas to bring, you can batch create, you can do repurposing, things like that. But if sometimes you need to take the time away, I think rest is really important to come back stronger rather than constantly being at the same level and then burning out. I think getting that balance between batching content. I have a Google Doc that's just for ideas of my LinkedIn posts, but also remembering that you want to conserve your energy and be authentic is really important. Obviously, don't overpost. So don't feel, obviously, if you've got 3 great ideas in one day, go for it, but don't overpost and think you can do 3 posts in one day. Consistency, because that's when people kind of give up and they think it's hard. And market research is great. See what is trending, see what ideas are going on. I know that there's a few kind of challenges on LinkedIn that you can do that are really cool. And there's loads of posts and content and blogs around creating a personal brand as well. And yeah, just enjoy it. It's your personal brand. Enjoy being able to connect with people. It's a really fun experience. So how do you create your own experience? It's all well and good me being here and being like, I've got a business, but what if you haven't got something yet and you want to create your personal brand, or you want to be able to create your own experience because you've changed your career path and you want to go into something new? Create a blog, YouTube, Instagram page. I think one of the people listening has recently started her Instagram page and it's amazing. So post regularly on LinkedIn. The amount of opportunities on LinkedIn, and I'm going to keep saying about LinkedIn, it's incredible. Start a side hustle if that's something you're really passionate about. You literally get one chance to, so why not? Digital courses are really good at increasing your knowledge, and some of them are free, like Google. I think HubSpot do quite a few good courses as well. And use your network to get involved. So once you start creating those connections, be like, hey, do you want to do a collaboration, or do you want to do a live together? Things like that. Create ways to attract attention that may be outside the box and get involved in speaking events like this. I think if I hadn't have used my personal brand, it would be safe to say I wouldn't be doing this talk right now. So, and have an open mindset. Just go with things. Sometimes things will be a little bit like, oh, should I do that? I'm a bit nervous. But if you've got that gut feeling like, yes, this is right, this is leading me towards what I want to do, go for it. Go into it and you'll learn so much from it. So what I've done. So obviously I've said briefly, I spoke at BBC Radio London, Bournemouth University with the Marketing Society about issues facing students, and then more recently personal branding. I started my Business Girls community, which has honestly become such a community and so important to me. I think it originally started off as like a motivational page, and then I was like, I can probably help people. I can help women get into business with this page. I've done marketing for university societies and sports clubs pretty much since I've been through at university. I've always been quite social media inclined. I've reached out to others to do lives. I don't know if anyone remembers Clubhouse, that social media that was around in the lockdown. What about that? Features on people's blogs. And also just I've been resilient. I think it's really hard to keep going sometimes. I think when I launched that I was doing freelancing, it was a good 4 weeks, which doesn't sound long, but there was a good 4 weeks where every day I was thinking, is this the right decision? Is anyone going to want to work with me? Because sometimes I would even get people that I'd send a contract through to, we'd had loads of conversations and I'd get ghosted. And sometimes in the start, it's so hard to think that you're doing the right decision. But I think it's like building a house. Once you get that first brick, you can do it again because you've got that first brick. If you can get that first brick, you can most likely get a second brick because you've done it before. And you will make a lot of mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes, but it's helped me grow and develop and be able to get opportunities to work with PressPad like I have now. So what can you do now? These are my 3 golden tips for starting your personal branding journey. Right now, after this masterclass, I want you to identify why you want to utilize your personal brand. So find your North Star, your why, your mission, whatever you want to call it. Even if it's to land your dream role, do you want to just connect with other people in your industry? Do you want to really get something on your CV? Having a focus or a why will help you stay on track and keep motivation around building your personal brand, because you'll know that there's an end goal in sight. And even if it's just like, I just want to share advice, that's a great why. That's kind of like my why, it's just helping people. If you want to, I'd love to see you post your first post on LinkedIn if you haven't already. This could be as simple as just posting about this masterclass, tagging me and saying a little bit about what you've learned, or a recent achievement you've had, or even a poll about personal branding. There are a few ideas. If you think no one's going to engage, you can tag me and I'll like it from my page and I'll like it from my business page. So that's already 2. And then after this call, I found this really, really interesting, and I won't give away what my results were, but I want you to message 3 people. So I want you to message someone you're closest to, so ideally a relative or a partner, a good friend, and someone you work with professionally or are in education with. Those 3 people, you can do more if you want to, but I think 3 is good, and ask them, what am I good at? Don't preface it with anything. Don't say, hey, I'm doing this experiment thing. I just wanted to ask what I'm good at. Just go in and be like, what am I good at? And they'll come back and be like, this is what you're good at. And I'm just going to say it might surprise you, because mine really surprised me. I think another way to find out maybe what your why is to ask your best friend, why are we friends? And they'll be like, oh, you're really kind, you're really supportive, you're really caring. Yeah, that's the premise for a best friend, but why are we friends? And they might say something. I'm just going to say that it's probably to do with your why. Okay, so those are 3 things I'm going to leave you with around personal branding. If any of you have got any questions, feel free to ask at the end, but I'm just going to leave you with this quote that I had on my website before I updated it. So I updated my website about 3 weeks ago now, and before that I just had this quote that was like, starting is the hardest part, but once you get past that, the rest of your journey becomes a lot easier. Because starting is the worst bit. Getting that first brick for your house, once you've done that, you can do it again, and you can do it again, and you can do it again until you've got a whole house. So if anyone's got any questions, these are my socials. So you can connect with me on Instagram at businessgirlsinc_, on LinkedIn as Business Girls Inc. And then for oh sorry, I just saw a notification come up there. On LinkedIn, Laura England as well. You can just connect with me, send me a message, or tag me in your LinkedIn posts. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. Has anyone got any questions?
I've got some questions for you, Laura.
Yeah.
So we are obviously very journalism focused at PressPad. What would you say is the difference between a personal page and a journalism focused brand? So by saying maybe is it okay if I share articles that I've written, but also maybe pitches that weren't successful? What do you think is would work best in that situation?
I think you can take anything away from what you've done. So quite a lot of the times I will share things that have happened with my business onto my personal page. And I feel like you could do that if you've got like a journalism page and the personal, because it's showing your career progression and it's showing people your journey. And I think it was Jenna Kutcher that said this, but she was like, so many people show the start of their journey, and then so many people just skip to the end and be like, oh, so I started Business Girls and now I've got Business Girls and a team member. But people forget that middle bit of, oh, I had a client drop out and then I had my first client and then I got my first retainer and then I created the business as a limited company. That people don't see those little like middle bits. And I feel like that's why it's so important if you've got like a journalist page and then you share it to your personal, be like, hey, I had this pitch, it didn't go as well as I thought. Here's what I've learned from it. Here's what I'm going to change. And people will automatically kind of get attached to your journey and be like, oh, I really hope their next pitch goes well, or oh, they got that job that they really wanted to go for, or oh, that pitch got accepted. That's really great. I think you can definitely cross post from your journalist page to your personal.
So then your advice would be to have a separate page, a personal one, and then a more professional one, whatever platform you're using.
Yeah, I definitely think that that could be beneficial. Like, I'm not a journalist myself, but I think that could be beneficial definitely to have that professional side, because obviously I have my business pages and then I have my personal brand, and I think that's good to split them but also cross post between.
What are the things that you think you have learned the most, like the biggest mistake you've made on your personal brand, and that you're now like, yeah, this was probably my biggest learning?
Oh, I think it's probably not thinking that I'm capable. I think imposter syndrome is real, and I think it's very easy to think, oh, maybe I can't do this, or maybe this blog isn't a good idea because maybe not many people read it, or maybe I shouldn't do this event because not many people might come, or I think it's very easy to think you're not capable of doing things. And I think at the start I was very much like, I'm just going to keep it as like a little page just to like run alongside my masters. And then I think a few people on my Instagram were like, you're doing quite well. Do you want to do like an event or something? Or do you want to like get involved with this? I think a real thing for me was there was someone in my industry, she's got like 25 or bordering on 25,000 followers now. And she was like, yeah, I'm down to do a talk. And I was like, oh, I thought she was going to say no. I thought she didn't want to like have a talk with me because I'm like quite new. So I think having capabilities and like believing you can do stuff in your personal brand journey is key. Having that trusting within yourself is probably my biggest learning.
Okay. We got a question about how regularly you should post, because you said earlier you you try and be regular, but also don't post if you don't know what to post, then that's fine as well. So how many times a week do you think it would make sense to post on social media? As a, let's say I'm a journalist who's starting out, I don't know, I don't like, maybe I'll pitch a lot, but I won't get any answers. If I just feel like everything I can post about is how um I get rejected, what do you do?
I think if you're worried about posting, firstly look at what channel you want to post on. So I think quite a lot of journalists and writing saying probably like Twitter, because that's sort of quite a good place where news gets broken. I think LinkedIn would be good. I'm not totally sure about Instagram for journalists. I think if I was going into journalism, I would probably pick LinkedIn and Twitter and utilize those. I think on different social media platforms, there's a different ratio of how often you should post as well. So Twitter is more rapid, reactive posting. So maybe a few times a day, 1 or 2 times a day. I think on LinkedIn, you can get away with posting once a week and it being really influential. I try, inverted commas, try and post twice a week on LinkedIn. But if I don't have the creative flow, sometimes I don't. I do try and stay consistent though, but I do think considering your health and your mental health is important above anything. So I think do try and be consistent, but if you need to take a week out, your audience isn't going to go anywhere. And you might come back and see that you've actually had like a inquiry or that you've got that pitch, or it's like your audience isn't going to disappear because you go away for 1 week. So I would say it depends on the platform that you're going to be posting on, and just consistency and try and batch content, some like emergency posts, so you could just like plug and play. That's quite a good way to do it. I try and get my Instagram sometimes content scheduled a few weeks ahead of time, but sometimes it's difficult. So
And we got a question about what's the best advice you've ever been given?
best advice I've ever been given. Oh wow. I think just go for it, because if you don't go for it, someone else is going to do it and someone else is going to come up with the idea. This actually happened to me a couple of weeks ago and I was like, I should have done this. I was debating doing a freelancing workshop for like people looking to get into freelancing, and then like 2 weeks later a girl I follow came out and she was like, I'm doing a freelancing workshop if anyone wants to join. And I was like, should have just bit the bullet and done it. So I think that's my best piece of advice. Like if you've got an idea, go with it, because that gap in the market's going to get filled, or that idea is going to be taken. I've come from a drama undergrad and my lecturer was always like, ideas just float around and they're not yours. They just pop into your head. And if they don't go into your head, they'll go into someone else's. So I think definitely if you've got an idea, run with it, go with it.
Okay, that's a really good one. I think I've heard that before also in art.
Yeah.
An art lecturer saying that. It's quite common to say that one, but it's a really good one. That's true. It's probably true also with pitches, I guess. You're never master of your own pitch, and if you don't talk about it, someone else will talk about that and publish it, and then you'll be like, damn it, if only I had pitched that, I would have got the commission. Would you say that the way we approach branding is very social media heavy, but also like how you have to be very intentional in the way you do social media, regardless of whether you want to launch a business or if you're freelancing as a journalist, or you could be because actually freelancing is your business regardless, like whatever. It is very true what you were saying earlier about how whether you're stationing a business or you're freelancing for something else, you're still a business. You're selling your time or your skills and all your skills. So how intentional should you be? Isn't it a bit cringe when you're just starting out to be very intentional on social media?
I think you'll always have in the back of your mind, oh, what is this going to impact on like my business journey? So if you've got a personal brand in any capacity, how is it going to impact in the long run? And I think it's just really important to kind of go with that and stick with that and be intentional and be like, this is my reason why I've got a personal brand. This is what I want to achieve. And 99% of the people will probably support me. And the 1% that don't support me, I probably won't hear from, because they probably won't vocalize it. So kind of do be intentional in that sense. Does that answer that
Yeah, it
question?
does. Yeah, it does. And then we were asked about what about portfolios and websites. So how do you link your, because we've talked quite a lot about social media, but what about websites and portfolios, and how do you make sure that is on brand, quote unquote?
So I had a digital portfolio that I attached to my LinkedIn as a post, and I was like, hey, created this digital portfolio. I'm a freelancer, so I didn't really want a CV. I wanted something that actually showed what I did. And I just put it as like a featured post on LinkedIn. So as soon as anyone went on my profile, they knew it was there. And then on my website, I had like my website linked. So I have a website that's business girls related. And then my digital portfolio is more things that are directly for like consultancy and clients. So I mentioned that I'm the founder of Business Girls, but it's more like, here's what I've done in like other things. So for my personal blog, Latest with Laura, I like to show that I have about 500,000 monthly views on my Pinterest. And that's just something that I grew organically through just being me and being like, hey, this is what I'm blogging about through the lockdown. So I think having a portfolio needs to show, especially if you're service-based or product-based business, more service-based probably, what your skills are and what your past experience is. If you don't have much experience with clients, go off university projects and courses and things like that. I think you can have a website for, that was one of my university projects. We had to do a website on like our experience, and then that would be used to show to employees. And that's actually been really useful because I've used that to help my like about me page on like Business Girls, because I'll be like, hey, this is the face behind the brand. Yeah, I want it to be a community-based platform, but a lot of people know me as the founder of Business Girls. They don't just think of Business Girls as its own company. So I do think having personal websites, even if you just want to get that dream job, is really cool. And also like creative CVs and portfolios. I saw a recent one I made on LinkedIn earlier that was like a benefit cosmetics. They'd done their CV in the like style of like the professional, like they'd had that as like a part of their skills, and then they'd had it like in one of the benefit boxes. If you want to get a job, you need to like think outside the box and try stuff like that. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, no, that's true. I do, from experience though, having recruited quite a few people, the basics need to get right in that first instance. So that's true for everything. If you don't know the why, if you don't have your experience lined up properly on your CV, it's not clear. If people can't find the information, they won't go and try and find it. So that's probably something that is also very true on.
I think skills are really important, but then I also think being on the hiring side myself recently and hiring my first team member for Business Girls, who's a freelancer for me. She really caught my attention because she was like, hey, like, I think I could do this for your brand. And having that kind of edge, instead of being like, please find my CV and close, just be like, hey, I think I can do this for your brand. These are the 3 reasons you should hire me. Catch her attention from the offset. And then I'm very much a believer that skills can be taught, and you need someone that's to a certain extent, but I feel like you need someone that's in it for the right reasons, that's got similar values to you but different skills to you.
That's true, and that's also how you found your community, I guess. That's how you've done it on social media, isn't it? You found people, like-minded people with similar mindset, and you're sort of sharing your journey to see how their skills can grow and what they can learn from you.
Yeah.
What a nice roundabout way to finish. We haven't received any more questions, so I think we can leave it to here. If you don't mind going to the next slide.
Yeah.
Here we go. So here are our next events. We've got a speed networking event, which is open to anyone who's interested in the creative world and the media in particular. There's only 20 spots available, so do go and get your ticket very quickly. It's free. All our events are free. And then we have a commissioning workshop, which is not next week, but the week after. However, submissions are opening tomorrow and they close a few days before the event. So do make sure to send your pitch over to us very, very soon. And then on Instagram, you may have missed Laura during her talk yesterday, but the Q&A is coming out tomorrow on Instagram as an IGTV. However, you can also see Mark, who is taking over the Q&A next week and is talking to Daniela Kundayo, who has a lot to say about starting her own platform on YouTube and on Instagram as well. So brace yourself for a very, very good talk. And again, if you have enjoyed the talk, make sure that you share your feedback on PressPad Remote, and you also make sure you join again another time.
You can always take a screenshot and like tag me on Instagram, because then I'll share it on my story. That'd be dead cute. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Laura. And I'll just finish the masterclass now.
Cool.
Bye-bye.
Bye.